Good evening, everyone, and welcome. A warm welcome to Spa-Francorchamps, where it is incredibly warm because we've had a lovely day and there's nowhere better to be in the world than Spa-Francorchamps and a beautiful blue sky day. And it looks like for the rest of the week, we are forecast an incredibly beautiful week of weather and a lot of hot action on the circuit because we are celebrating 100 years of racing here for the Spa 24 hours with a grid of 66 cars from 9 different manufacturers and not just the GT3 24-hour race, but we have GT2s, the GT4 history from this race. We also have 2 historical races, both for touring cars and GTs. And this evening we're going to talk through exactly what you can expect here at the circuit, but also talk to some of the legends that have graced the circuit over the years and find out some of their warm stories. My first story of Spa was coming to the 1993 Formula One Grand Prix, about here meeting Ayrton Senna. I love this place. This is very much in my heart. And the events here already have got started. We've already had some action on circuit. And before that, you have to get your cars scrutineered. So all cars rolling through the scrutineering process, which effectively is making sure every single car is legal. And there are so many checks to do, whether it be weight, width, height, and of course, height of the car from the bottom of the ground as well, the ride height, checking wing angles, checking engine configurations, and making sure everything is up to standard before the cars go on circuit. Not just in terms of performance, but of course also safety, seat belts, fire extinguishers, and things like this. And because these guys are such professionals, no problems at all at scrutineering. The odd little check or tighten here and there, a bit of advice, but all of our 66 cars passing with flying colours and then heading out onto circuit. Now the circuit here at Spa, the layout, if you look at it on a piece of paper, hasn't changed at all for the last couple of years, really. But it has had quite a big overhaul the last couple of years, and this year, the last couple of weeks, because they've had a massive amount of new tarmac laid. And so what normally today would have been a bronze test for just the bronze drivers to get used to the circuit, giving them more track time, we ended up having a full test for all of our competitors, allowing every single car to get used to the brand new tarmac, which is about 50% of the circuit. That hasn't changed the layout, but it has changed the performance, and the cars were going at least a second and a half faster thanks to some of these very crucial areas around the circuit having brand new tarmac.
Mid-corner speed is really high. You just feel that the tires stick so well, and it gives a lot of confidence to the driver. Obviously the Aston is a really good car as well, so it really suits my driving style, and in the results you can clearly show that I feel confident, and it's crazy. I really love it.
Yeah, definitely the new grip is huge on the new asphalt. I mean, massive amounts of grip. Certainly makes it fun in our CrowdStrike Mercedes. It's a lot of fun to feel that grip and be able to kind of lean on the tire harder. So yeah, really nice. I'm loving life right now. It's a blast.
Yeah, grip feels fantastic, to be honest, compared to when we were here in the prologue with the new surface. It's really incredible, much more smooth and a lot more grip than I expected. So yeah, I think it will be exciting to see how it runs with new tires, and also with the track getting more rubber. I think it will feel fantastic.
Yes, and let's not forget that the British Touring Car Championship, the British GT Championship were here last weekend as part of their Speed Week. They were the very first GT cars to grace the new parts of the circuit, laying down rubber throughout their race on Sunday. And then we progressed. And that was only 2 days ago. So we're going to have more and more Pirelli rubber laid down, which is going to make those grippier places even more grippy. And it doesn't just grip, because we've heard some other drivers talk about the lack of bumps in some of the crucial areas, not now unsettling the cars like they were last year. So we're expecting a very, very fast Spa 24 hours, especially if the rain holds off. There's a light sprinkling predicted, and actually, if you've come to Spa before, you know that the weather forecasts never hold true anyway, so we might get rain at any given point. But it's crucial to say, if you are anywhere close to Spa-Francorchamps, you don't have anything to do this weekend, whether you're in the UK, you're only a couple of hours from Calais to come to Spa-Francorchamps, and if you are in countries adjoining but listening to us in English, you're very welcome. Come to Spa and enjoy the Centenary edition of the Spa 24 hours. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. €50 to get into the circuit €80 if you want to come and join the paddock. No, that's not one day. That's all 5 days worth of action. And actually the campsites to park your camper is only €130. So it really is a bargain for the amount of action you get. And we're going to talk a bit later on about what else is offered to you here as well as the racing action. But before we do, we're going to have a chat to some of our various guests and celebrities, let's say, of Spa 24 Hours. Let's not forget, we've been racing here 77 times. Yes, it's been a GT race since 2000, but before then, it was a touring car race. And my first guest is Belgian Pierre Dudonné, who is a local. And how many times, Pierre, did you win here in a touring car?
Just one time. But
One time?
Yeah, but I did this race 17 times as a driver.
Wow.
And many more time in other capacity, like now as a sporting director.
And we can run back to the 1970s, and we can run back to the old Spa-Francorchamps circuit. Of course, not a circuit that I've ever seen run in real life, but a circuit I've driven a road car around many times. The parade will do it this weekend. What was it like doing a 24 hours on that circuit?
Well, the length first was double. It was a 14-kilometer circuit instead of a 7-kilometer now. And it was very, very fast. The fastest racetrack that ever was at that time, same as Monza. But the difference in Spa here, it was public roads. And then it was very, very dangerous as well, because if you went off at that kind of speed, you would end up in the fields or in the trees or sometimes in the houses, because there are houses around the track. So it was really frightening.
Yeah, I imagine. And weather conditions we see here changing from La Source to La Combe on the new layout. So it must have been very different from Stavelot to La Combe in those days.
Yes, the weather in Spa and Francorchamps has not changed. So it's very, as you said, very unpredictable, and a lot of rain in many circumstances. And that's why the area is so nice for the tourism. It's very green, and on a lovely day like today, it's beautiful. But that's also because it rains a lot.
Let's talk about those early wins in the 1970s. What did you, what was the feeling of taking victory on what must have been such a titanic battlefield of race action?
Well, it was at that time, in those days, the greatest touring car race in the world. So obviously, winning it was quite an achievement and important for every racing driver. But okay, like every 24 hours, it was grueling, because it's very hard. And in those days also, we were usually only 2 drivers to do the driving. The 3 drivers came later when the car got faster. But in those days, it was mainly and even before the war, some drivers did it alone, which was same as Le Mans. They used to do 23 hours and just leave 1 hour for their co-driver or things like that. Yeah.
The cars must have been under huge strain with the speeds that we had. A touring car would be kind of flat out, not just with your foot, but the engine must have been absolutely buzzing.
Yes, for sure. But also that was changed through the years. In those days, you had to look after the car. Now the cars are so strong that it's very rare that you have a mechanical problem. I mean, unless you have contacts with other cars. But the cars are so reliable that you can really abuse them. In those days, to win a 24 hours race, you had to have a feel for the car and know what not to do with the engine or hitting curbs or things like that, yeah.
The circuit was changed in the mid-1980s to effectively the present layout, or were you all very happy to have something a little safer to play with?
Well, I can say for all drivers who has driven on the old circuit, it was a relief, but also it was a necessity, because there were a lot of fatalities on the old track, and that was not acceptable in a sport or in a public. You see, when there is an accident now, those days, it's very rare, but it creates a lot of emotion. In those days, it was a little bit different, but still not acceptable.
And then moving on to the 85 edition and moving forward, the racing must have been quite different, having a much shorter circuit.
Yes, it changed. It became more physical because on the previous track it was flat out nearly everywhere, but therefore the drive had a little bit of well, physically it was less demanding. The new track with more turns made it more demanding physically speaking.
But the cars also progressed. The Jaguar that you raced in the late 1980s must have been very different to what you were racing in the 1970s.
Yes, also there were more difference because, say, for instance, and coming back to my link with a British team in 1981, when I won this race, it was together with Tom Walkinshaw, Tom Walkinshaw Racing, and the year after. So it was. It was a Division 2. It was not a car in the big class. It was a smaller car. So it was exceptional to win with a car which was not in the big division. And one of the quality of the car was it was nimble and light to drive. But the next year, Tom came with the Jaguar XJS, which has the Hudge V12 engine, a lot of power, and that car was very heavy. And also the engine was, there was a lot of heat coming from the engine compartment, so it was something completely different. Today, either you take a McLaren or a BMW or a Ferrari, in GT3 regulation, they are all more or less the same cars. In those days, every car was very different.
And that Jaguar effectively almost would be considered today as a GT car, really.
Yes, it was. In fact, it was a GT car, but because of the regulation, you just managed to squeeze that kind of car in a touring car race, yeah.
And you're still here today, still wearing a team shirt, sporting director for WRT. It must be a great pleasure to continue your relationship with, as a Belgian driver, with the Spa 24 Hours, and still taking victories as well.
Yes, but it's mainly a great privilege to still be here at my age and to have the pleasure to work with young drivers, because the driver today, very often, some are 17 or in the early 20s. So you talk about my time, and it's like if you are talking of prehistory, and so it's. I'm very fortunate to be able to work with young guys. Yeah.
And how does it feel, the way that the event itself has grown into this real festival feel?
Well, it's completely again different. The festival aspect has grown thanks to the promotion of SRO. So it's a big event for the family, for young people. You have concert at the same time. You have a lot of interest from different parts, not just the race. So that's something nice today. Yeah.
Pierre, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a great pleasure to speak with you.
My pleasure.
We're going to now head up to Pierre's garage. The number 32 WRT car is driven by another Belgian, Charles Weerts, and he gives us a quick look around the BMW and his cockpit.
So, hello everybody, I'm Charles Weerts, and let's have a quick tour of the cockpit of the M4 GT3. So, first things first, the most important obviously is the driving position. So we have basically two things we can adjust directly in the car. It's basically the lever for the pedal box, and also the one for the steering wheel. This is very important. For driving, of course, we got here the shifting pedals, which work both ways in case we have an issue with one. We have the clutch, which is directly at the end. We can adjust the ABS settings directly thanks to this rotary. Same for the traction control, so we can really play a lot inside the car. We also use quite a lot of the braking bias, where we can just adjust it, whether it's more front or rearwards. And we have some information obviously on our DDG here in the middle of the cockpit, where we can obviously have some very important information. We have the rear view camera, which works pretty well, and also the in-car marshalling system, which allows us to know if there's any hazard on track or not. This is it for the most important topics inside this car. Hope to see you in numbers this weekend. See you and have a nice day.
Thank you very much to Charles Weerts, showing us around a modern GT3 car, and of course 9 different brands taking part in the 24 hours. We've got even more brands involved in GT4, which will have 2 races across the weekend as well, including a night race on Friday evening. So much action on circuit and so much for you to enjoy if you come here to Spa for the weekend, or if you come on Friday, because it's a full day's worth of race action on Friday. We again get most of the race 2 Saturday morning, and race kicks off at 4:30 local time here at Spa on Saturday afternoon, of course running till 4:30 on Sunday afternoon, but race action starts actually on Friday morning. Our next guest is a man that I've tracked down in the paddock, a man that won both in the touring car era and then, I did the maths earlier, 14 years later in the GT era, which started in 2000, the SRO era. A pleasure to have Bernd Schneider with us. Thank you very much for joining us, Bernd. I hope it doesn't make you feel too old to have that bigger gap between the 2 wins.
Actually, it was not 14, it was a 24 years
I
difference.
see, I knew my maths was rubbish.
And that feels pretty old, and it's already, I was in 2013 when I won last time here. But anyway, it was the first time when Mercedes won the race after the famous red pink in the 1971, won it here with Hire and Chickadance. So it's something for the history. So I'm very proud to achieve this win in our SLS.
We all think of you as a Mercedes man. You have a Mercedes badge on your jacket this weekend, but your first win was in a Ford. In your younger days, you were a Ford driver and a Ford touring car driver. Talk about the touring car racing. Okay, you didn't experience the old track like Pierre, but it must have been quite impressive to be racing here in touring cars.
Absolutely. I mean, for me as a young driver, I was Ford youngster called, because there was, in these days, we had the BMW junior team, and Frank Bieler, Manuel Reuter and myself, we were the Ford youngster team, and participate in this big race here in Spa was something special. I raced, I think, first time in 86 or 87 here. I think 87 with Terry Boutsen together in the car, a big hero in Formula One in that days, and Belgium hero. So we had a lot of spectators just coming to see our car, black Texaco Ford Sierra Cosworth, more than 500 horsepower. Quite difficult to drive that car, but a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed this racing and that days, even in the touring car.
What are your memories of the year that you took victory, and what made it a victory year for you?
I mean, we have to start the story a bit earlier, because Rudi Eckenberger was a very famous touring car team. He won everything with BMW, he won everything with Volvo in that days. The World Championship, the European Championship, but he never has won Spa 24 hours. He participated so many often here, and he never achieved a victory. So in '89, he was really concentrating with 2 cars, with 2 Bastos Ford Sierra Cosworth, and he tried everything that we finished the race, because the reliability of the car was not that strong. So he observed us in the bus stop chicane, and that days that we're not using so much the curbs. So it was great days, and we were not dominating, but we had a good fight with the BMWs all the time, and and in the end it was start raining, and I'm quite good in the wet. So and Rudi put me in the car for the last 2 hours and said, bring it home, and then we achieved that. And my Formula One was so bad in that year, in '89, I never qualified, and then now you see here on the podium, Brancatelli, Vin Percy and myself, and this survived my career, because in Formula One I had really some doubts. I'm a good racing driver or not, because I never qualified, and then I come here to Spa, and I was the guy in our the fastest guy in our car, and I said, okay, maybe I'm better than I can show in Formula One in driving. So this was a big help for my career to win this in '89, this race in Spa.
So there must have been plenty of efforts between 89 and 2013 when you came back and took victory again. Tell us some of the experiences you had here at Spa in between times.
Yeah, in the end, you know, I did DTM, and DTM cars could not participate at Spa, so I was really a bit sad that I'm not able doing Nürburgring or Spa, because these are for me in touring car was the biggest races ever. So and then I stopped DTM in 2008, and we start with customer racing in AMG with our SLS, and I even did not think to do races anymore, but yeah, it just happened. So I developed the car, and the team asked me to support them, and I still was quick, and I did my first start in 2012 in a gentleman team, and I really enjoyed it. So doing a Rouge Blanchiment in a sports car was absolutely different compared to touring cars.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really loved it. And in 2013, I got the chance driving with HTP and Maxi Bug, Maxi Götz, and I did know the driver lineup is very strong. The car was very strong, and the BOP in 2013 was good, and we brought just everything together. We had the luck on our side as well, what you need in Spa, with the weather conditions changing all the time, and so in the end, it was a big achievement, and we were so happy. Because, as I said before, this was the first victory for AMG after the Red Pig in 1971. This was a bit of historic. I could vote for AMG.
And they've continued ever since, supporting the event and more cars. You're here this weekend with Landgraf Motorsport. How different is the GT3 car that you raced to what you are now managing at that team?
I mean, I drove that car 2 years ago. I did the Mugello 12-hour race with some friends. We finished third overall, and we won the class. So I'm still doing this for fun. But Spa 24-hour is no more fun. So if you go to Spa, you have to take it seriously. You have to be in a good conditions. Especially if it's hot like today. The drivers are really suffering in the car, and if you double stint, it's more than 2 hours. So it really hurts if you are not 100% fit. So for me, I know how the car works. I know the setups, and today or this weekend I'm with our Asia team. Indy Dontje is the hero in the car, and we are in the Pro M class. And for me, it's important that I treat these guys to be safe on track, achieve good lap times, and survive the race. So survive the night, and then I think we have a good chance being on the podium, because the guys are really quick. So I was surprised how quick they are, and Indy set the pace all the time. So we have somebody they can aiming for, and I'm looking really forward. I think we'll have a good race, and I will enjoy it.
Of course, you've got Kevin C as part of that team, and Kevin taking victory on Sunday. So have you seen a bit of a buoyant attitude to the Asian group thanks to his success?
Yeah, I mean, he did very well. I mean, the new surface we had now around the track, it makes for everybody who didn't do the British GT race, they have to adapt. So today in free practice, he did not run much. We spent more driver time for the others, but this was helpful for us, and also coaching the other drivers how to do Blanchiment. It's now easy flat and the new surface. The braking, it's much later, and especially the big bump at the medical center is it's no more there. So this makes them the life a bit easier. What we could see on the lap times dropping down, but. We are today really was concentrating on race setup, and we're not spending a lot new tires on the car, because we are thinking that we have to have a good race car, we have to survive, and then we have a good chance. And as I said before, Rio, David and Kevin are really good, very consistency. So far, no mistakes, and now we have to make no mistake in pit, no mistakes on track. And then I think we have a good chance to have a good result.
We've come to the end of June, at the end of the month of endurance, because we've had 2 24-hour races so far in the month of June, finishing off with Spa. What sets this race apart from all the other 24 hours that exist? You've obviously participated, I think, in both.
I always say, telling the same story, you know, in 2013 I won also Nürburgring 24 hours and I won Spa afterwards. And for the Germans, of course, the Nürburgring is the big race. But international-wise, when I won here in Spa, I got congrats from around the world. I got people writing me emails or WhatsApps from the US, from Australia, from Japan, and that was really surprising. And that is exactly the story behind AMG. You know, when Mr. Aufrecht and Melcher came in 71 to Spa, this win makes AMG famous overnight. And this was so important for the company. And so this is the reason I said, international-wise, this is the much bigger race, because the feedback around the world is much higher than winning the Nürburgring. For us Germans, of course, Nürburgring is something special, and winning Nürburgring for me was also, I was really happy. I won it 2 times in 13 and 16, so it was outstanding. But I never won a 24-hour because we were always stopping at night for rain or hail or whatever we had. So at Spa, I won 24 hours because it was a 24-hour race.
Bernd, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a great pleasure to talk to you. And good luck for your weekend, because you've got some work to do still.
Yes, thank you very much. We need luck, definitely, like always at Spa. And it's a little bit different being outside because you can't do much. You just sometimes on the radio give some helps. But it's a different position right now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
A slightly clumsy changeover here because I don't think we've got anything to paint over, so excuse the people walking in front of the camera, but we continue with our legends here in the Pit Cafe. Bernd Schneider, fantastic to talk to, Pierre as well. And now we go slightly younger, but unfortunately Jan is not that dissimilar age to me. I think we both still feel quite old. Jan Mardenborough joins us, debuting here at Spa in 2011, so it's a good while ago now.
Yeah, 2012.
2012.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like yesterday, to be honest.
Yeah.
It feels like a short amount of time, but actually the last time I raced you was 2013 as well, which feels like, again, yesterday, but when you count the years, it's 11, which is a bit mad.
Of course, Jan Mardenborough winning GT Academy. We've probably all seen Gran Turismo, the film, and that is the route that brought you to here. But you must have praised and loved Spa as a kid, as a race fan, for many years before you got a chance to race here.
Spa, no, it's this place and some German tracks that were always the cool tracks to drive as a sim driver. And certainly now, as today, having not driven this place in a while, the respect that I have for this place has grown even more. You know, coming here last time with RGN in the Datsun, going through like Eau Rouge, it's still a mega corner now, even in the McLaren, where it's easier, like we're flat through there. And when you talk to drivers and they kind of ask each other, are you flat at Eau Rouge? And you look at the data and they're kind of lifting a little bit, but like with full gas, it's such a cool feeling. When I was here for the test day last month, for the 24-hour test day, driving on the out lap and then attacking my first build lap, I had a conversation with myself going up to Eau Rouge. I was like, this is going to feel like the first time 11 years ago. And my stomach just went through my mouth. It was wild, and I was laughing by the time I got to Radion. And the second lap, the same thing. And then by the time the third lap, I was kind of like, okay, I know what it's going to feel like now. There's negative G, positive G, blah, blah, blah. And it feels cool. The body, it feels it's such a very special place.
Let's rewind back to the first time then. 2012, you've won GT Academy. Your prize was Dubai 24 hours, so you had a 24-hour experience. But Dubai 24 hours versus Spa 24 hours, a very, very different animal, multi-class racing versus single-class racing. What was it like coming here for the first time? Do you remember what you felt like?
Yeah, really excited. I remember the first practice sessions we had. I remember night practice, and I remember the stacking up into the bus stop during qualifying. It was just an absolute nightmare of just traffic jam of people trying to get clear lap. It's going to be the same thing tomorrow, Thursday. I also remember, unfortunately, breaking down before nightfall and then walking back to the hotel just past here after turn one and watching all the cars go by and all the noises and the Z4s running by and they sound amazing. I'm like, I'm so jealous. So jealous. But then the next year, the following year in 2013, we were third in Pro-Am, which was great. Being on the podium here. Car ran faultless. And yeah, to stand on the podium here after a hard race, because Spa, for me, even now in my career, is the most difficult race I've ever done. I haven't done Nürburgring, I've done Le Mans, done other 24-hour races, but Spa, I remember that being the most demanding so far. And so I'm not, it's going to be the same thing come Saturday.
I mean, you raced at Nürburgring. You haven't done a 24
Never
hours.
done a 24-hour, yeah.
What do you think, I just asked Bernd this, what sets this apart versus Le Mans and Spa?
I think there's no rest. At Le Mans, you have a lot of rest. You know, after you get through Tête Rouge and onto the Mulsanne Straight, you have, 2 chicanes, and then another 90-degree, then a long straight, and you can kind of adjust your belts, adjust if you're going as need moving. Whereas here, you can't do that. Like you're out I guess down the pit lane you can do that, but when you're out there on circuit, you have 62 other cars that are in the same class as you. Whereas Le Mans, you have maybe 20 at the time when I did it, and then all the others are different classes. So you're overtaking this. When you overtake, it's either for class, but then when you're being overtaken by other cars or overtaking slower cars, it's easier because, of course, you just get out of the way or you overtake the slower car. Whereas here, everybody's for position. Everybody's in the same class. So it's a lot more, you don't know if the car in front of you is a lap down, kind of similar speeds anyway, so it's much more physically demanding. Mentally demanding. Physically, I go gym, so it's all good. But mentally, it's
I couldn't tell.
mentally, it's a very demanding race.
We haven't seen you in Europe for a while. You've been racing over in Japan for a good few years. Obviously, most recently, the film's come out. How has that kind of changed your life, but also your motorsport life and the momentum that you had in your career?
It's a massive privilege, and I believe everything in life comes at its perfect timing. And certainly the movies come at a really good time in my career. It illuminates my name. And there's many people in motorsport that know my story, and people that in motorsport that are interested in motorsport now, which is great. I've brought more eyeballs to my sport, which I'm very proud of. I feel very blessed in order to tell us my story. I just go drive racing cars, but people have taken inspiration that you can follow your dreams. My dream is to race a racing car. It still is. It's still my ultimate ambition to be racing at the highest level, sports cars and GT cars, until I'm into my mid-40s. And if I can help bring eyeballs to this sport and bring be an inspiration for people that maybe wouldn't even consider motorsport because they feel it's too far out, and I can help change that perception, I feel very lucky and blessed to be able to do that.
Was it slightly odd watching yourself on TV-ish?
I've only seen the movie twice.
Okay.
So, and 1.5 times really, because the first time I watched it, it was in the Sony lot in Hollywood, and it was just me and my business partner watching it. And it's weird because it's your life, and you know exactly what's going to happen because you lived it, and also you were there on set.
Yeah.
And also being a stuntman for yourself. And then the next time I watched it was during promotional tours, so I didn't watch the whole thing because I know what's going to happen, and I'm tired, I want to go to bed. But it is very, very weird. I love it. I'm not someone who likes to talk about the past so much. It's always, for me, what I've ever done in the last 6 weeks. I always want to be going forward, but I'm very proud that even now on airplanes it's still being played, and people still message me. And
watched it last night.
Thanks.
On the plane.
Appreciate it.
Okay, let's talk about the future then. Let's talk about the near future. Race coming up Sunday. You typically just don't get a lot of time in the car at Spa on the lead up to the 24 hours. Anyone I speak to who's like a rookie-ish here, it's just never enough time. But you feeling prepared?
I think today has been, when I look back, a good day, considering I shouldn't have been driving this today because it was the bronze test.
Yeah.
But the fact that the track, part of the circuit's been resurfaced, all the drivers were allowed to do this day. It's not only the bronze drivers. So I've had 4 flyers today on kind of old tyres, but I had a good feeling for the car. And then we go again on Thursday and for the qualifying sessions and the practice sessions and the night quali. Car feels not so bad with Car 100 with Team RJ and McLaren. I want to get to Super Pole. That's the target. It's going to be tough because we're in the Pro-Am category. So it's a combined time in order to make Super Pole.
Yeah.
But, that is the intention, is to make it there. And then hopefully I'll be the guy to do the lap and I can drive really fast.
Yeah, and it's really cool to speak with you. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Pit Cafe.
Thank you.
And hope you have an enjoyable and successful weekend.
Thank you, man.
Jan Mardenborough, Bernd Schneider, Pierre Dieudonné, amazing guests here in the Pit Cafe. And we hope to bring you some more insider action on Friday, when our second Pit Cafe will happen around 7:30, a bit earlier, because there's so much track action here that we don't have this place available at 8 o'clock because there's racing going on. So we will join, you can join us, the English version, at 5:30, and there is also a French version as well happening if you don't understand what I'm saying. One last thing to cover, and that is all the stuff that's happening here which isn't cars going around the circuit, because Spa 24 hours is so much more than just racing. I've never managed to enjoy it, but this year, a concert that's starting at 5:30 and finishing at 2 in the morning. So if you like your live music DJs, there's an excuse on its own to come down, because the ticket's only €50. And you can enjoy, what's that, 7 hours of live music? And not even watch a car go around. But there's so much to help you enjoy the cars. And I've got Abby Hay from SRO Motorsports Group here to help me decipher all the stuff that SRO have been doing to make this a proper event.
Honestly, there is so much to do this weekend. All of the information can be found in the program. So the program, it's actually a limited edition. It's only €10, and it has everything from the timetable, from the drivers, the teams, the history of Spa, the history of kind of where it all began. So it's well worth it. It's got, as you said, the information about the concerts, the fan village. It's really, you need to get yourself a program. I've been reading it all day. It's fantastic.
Every good race circuit has a big wheel. That's a fact. And Spa will have a big wheel this weekend, because we've just seen it being put up. This is very recent shots, maybe slightly earlier than it is right now, but there is a big wheel, and that's going to feature heavily in our shot of Eau Rouge, that's for sure.
Most definitely, and I am the first one to stand at the side of the track and watch the cars go by. But if you want the best view, then you need to get yourself over to the wheel so you can see the whole of Spa.
I was told that across the way, so the inside of the circuit, from the big wheel, if you've got a paddock ticket, so that's €80 for entry to the circuit and entry to the paddock, we've put a bar on the top of the endurance pits. So used to be hospitalities and limited accessibility. There is now a public bar up there, so you can be overlooking the endurance pits, looking at the big wheel going around. You'll have the concert in the background, you have the cars in the foreground, and you have all the pit stuff going on. So that's another really lovely addition. And there's lots of food stands, I believe, around the circuit, because you can't come to Spa and not have frites, right?
I was just about to say, it sounds like the perfect weekend. Some chips, mayo, and a beer. What more could you ask for?
Yeah, exactly, and some racing as well. More grandstands than ever before.
Yep, more grandstands. We've got 14 big TV screens. You can't miss the action. You can go into any grandstand you want if you've got a paddock ticket. So it's really the perfect, there's everything that you need that you can get so you can see it all.
Here are the grandstands then. A tour of the circuit. The new Tribune Radiant on the left-hand side. These grandstands, the endurance and the gradient endurance, they were not here last year for the 24 hours. They're still being built. So extra seating. There's actually another one just there, which is another new grandstand on the outside of La Source. You've got big screens on the inside, so you can watch all of the action and the cars going around the slowest corner of the circuit. And that's another one that I noticed at the bus stop. And that's a big action point, isn't it?
It's a really big action point. That's actually where we see in race control the majority of incidents. We're hoping for less of those this year. But if you don't want to sit in a grandstand to watch the races, there are plenty of opportunities to do a track walk, pit walks at night, which you tend to find most of the teams setting up. It's really, the whole point of this event is to be close to the fans. And we're giving you every opportunity to do that. Pit walks, track walks, and if you can get yourself a grid walk pass, it's amazing. To be on the grid with 66 cars, there's nothing better.
It is quite a busy grid, that's no doubt about it. It's absolutely amazing. And extended, I believe, for this year. We're going to be having a whole hour's worth of grid build-up rather than the usual half an hour.
Yes, so it's a lot longer this year, the grid walk, because we have some exciting surprises for everyone.
Oh, you're not going to tell us any surprises?
I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to tell you you have to be there. Maybe I could tell you there is going to be some exciting air action. So
Okay.
the best place to see that is on the grid, surrounded by the drivers, the teams, and of course all the GT3 cars.
Look, the reason why we're telling you this is because it's only Tuesday, and if you haven't made any plans for the weekend, whether you're in the UK or whether you're watching this around Europe and watching the English language version, there's no excuse not to come down to Spa and come enjoy it. Some of the campsites are sold out, but there is still availability in the €130 campsites. So that is the cheapest option for you. Park up your camper van or your tent for a full weekend for €130. Entry, €50. And that's it, completely, under €200, and you're here for a 24-hour race. Robin Schultz DJ on one of the DJs on the big main stage, and all the various things to make sure you are entertained. Not something we can organise, but something that seems to be pretty good is the weather.
I know, it's amazing. I mean, it's 8:30 and I've just taken my sunglasses off. But yeah, the weather hopefully is going to stay like this. It's going to be perfect weather to bring the family, bring everybody along. You know, you've got, as you said, Robin Schultz. He's at 11 o'clock on Saturday night. If you get there just before, you should be able to see the amazing firework display. I'm always amazed how the drivers are concentrating with the fireworks. They're huge. It's incredible.
It really is. And we'll a nice bit of entertainment for you, but the DJ set doesn't stop until 2 o'clock in the morning, so we'll keep you up. You don't even need a tent. You can just stay awake all night and day. And of course, there's lots of race action. There's lots of race action, not only with the 4:30 race start for the 24 hours, but 2 days worth of support races beforehand.
Yes, and the perfect time to see all of the cars, honestly, is tomorrow. It's the parade. It's one of my favorite parts of the event. You've got GT2, GT3, GT4, the McLaren Trophy. The manufacturers are bringing supercars themselves. You've got all of the historic cars. It's the place to be, is Spa City Centre on a Wednesday when you get to see all the cars up close.
So the timings on that then, 4:30 tomorrow afternoon, if you are local to here. The cars will leave the circuit and they will do the first couple of corners. And then, this is my favourite bit, they're going around the old track. They're going around the old Spa-Francorchamps circuit, then rejoining at the medical centre. A quick pause at La Source, and they should be in Spa Village at 5:40 until, I think, 9 o'clock in the evening they would leave?
Yes, 5:40 until 9 o'clock in the evening. So the drivers, we actually take the theatre in Spa Centre, and that's where they have their drivers' briefing. So I believe the football's going to be on as well. So when you're there looking at the cars, you can have a beer, you can watch the football, you can bump into all your favourite drivers, and then at 9 o'clock, we bring everybody back.
It's going to be a massive festival down in Spa City Centre. And you'll have a pit cafe as well. You won't see me. It's going to be in French, so you don't have to worry about trying to understand my English. But there will be a pit cafe on the big screen, interrupting the football, and that's far more important. And then, of course, you've got all the cars as well. A huge afternoon, evening of entertainment down in Spa Town. And then we have the qualifying on Thursday at 8:30 in the evening. That's when all the cars go out into circuit. And then we'll have the Super Pole action on Friday at 3:45. Race start at 4:30 on Saturday. I think we've covered everything. I hope we've made you feel a little bit excited and inspired about either coming down here to Spa or at least joining us on our GT World YouTube channel to watch the 24 hours. We will have a full professional team starting the broadcast 1 hour before the race starts, so 3:30 local time here in Spa. Do the time zone change wherever you are, and if you're seeing this a little bit later on, we'll have another pit cafe on Friday at 7:30. So more action from myself to come from Spa. Abby, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Great to have Bernd Schneider, Jan Mardenborough and Pierre Dieudonné as our guests. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on Friday.